The famous pianist Vincent Sterling once mocked a blind black teenager by telling him to play the piano as a joke, until that moment turned into the greatest humiliation of his career. "Come on, kid, play something for us." "You must know Happy Birthday," Vincent said, his voice echoing through the Lincoln Art Center's Grand Hall, drawing polite laughter from New York's musical elite. 16-year-old David Thompson stood silently beside the Steinway, gripping his white cane while whispers filled the room. He had come with his public school teacher, unaware he would become the night's main spectacle. Vincent, dressed in his Armani tuxedo, believed the boy's presence symbolized everything wrong with forced inclusion. With arrogance dripping from his words, he urged David to play. What no one knew was that this boy, who practiced for hours each day on a borrowed church keyboard, had a gift that no amount of money could buy. He could reproduce entire symphonies after hearing them only once. When David finally spoke, his calm voice cut through the noise. "Actually, I prefer Bach." Vincent laughed mockingly, until David added, "Partita number 2 in C minor." The room fell silent. Challenged, Vincent played the opening bars himself, only for David to correct him. "You played it in D major. Bach wrote it in C minor." Gasps rippled through the audience. Vincent's smile faltered, his authority cracking. The blind boy had just exposed him. Then David spoke again, explaining that Bach composed the piece after losing his wife, that to play it right, one must have truly known grief. His words struck something raw in the pianist. Pushed to prove himself, David took the bench. "The difference between you and me," he said softly, "is that you played the notes Bach wrote. I'll play the tears he shed." As his fingers touched the keys, the hall transformed. Every sound carried the weight of a boy who had lost his parents in the crash that took his sight, who had rebuilt his soul through music. The same notes Vincent had performed earlier now bled with emotion so deep it made listeners tremble. Even those who had laughed before were in tears. Dr. Harrison Webb, the conductor of the Boston Symphony, whispered, "This boy is a prodigy." By the end of the performance, the hall was silent, then erupted into a standing ovation unlike any the city had ever seen. David stood with quiet grace, while Vincent could only stare, his reputation disintegrating before his eyes. The elite who had once worshipped him now looked at him with disdain. In 15 minutes, the blind boy he tried to humiliate had destroyed the image he'd built over decades. Months later, David walked through the halls of Juilliard as the youngest full scholarship student in its history, personally sponsored by Margaret Rothschild, the same patron who had mocked him that night. Vincent, meanwhile, found himself disgraced, his contracts canceled, his arrogance exposed to the world through viral footage of that fateful recital. Critics wrote that while he played the notes perfectly, it was the blind boy who played with a soul. As David prepared for his Carnegie Hall debut, his aunt asked if he was still angry. He smiled gently and said, "Vincent Sterling gave me the greatest gift, an audience." That night, his performance brought the crowd to tears again, his message echoing through the hall. Music belongs to no one. It connects hearts beyond color or class. That is the true democracy of art. Vincent watched the broadcast from his small apartment in Queens, realizing too late that the boy he once mocked had become the future of music. David's story became legend, a reminder that real genius needs no privilege to shine, and that the most powerful revenge is not destruction, but greatness.